Hey folks, Mark Levin here. Now, before we dive in today's episode, I want to talk about something truly valuable, protecting your financial future with gold. It's called diversification. Now, for that, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're the real deal with 5-star service and a sterling reputation. So give them a call today. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Trust me, you'll thank yourself in the future. Now let's get to the show. Results may vary. Consult with your financial professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3800. Ladies and gentlemen. Say what? 3811? Yeah, don't call the pizza parlor. I just gave their number out. All right. Well, now it's finally happened. The economy is contracting. Unemployment is rising. Inflation is getting worse. The Dow today closed almost 700 points lower. Those of you who have pensions, they're invested in mutual funds and so forth, that affects you. And it started last night. Late yesterday, stocks sold off on Thursday, tumbling nearly 500 points. Some fresh data stoked fears over a possible recession and the notion, I said we're in stagflation, and we are. And the notion that the Federal Reserve could be too late to start cutting interest rates. Initial jobless claims rose the most since August 2023. Manufacturing index, a barometer of factory activity in the U.S., came in at 46.8%, worse than expected and a signal of economic contraction. After these releases, the 10-year Treasury yield dropped below 4% for the first time since February. In other words, there's nowhere to go in terms of equities, in terms of interest and so forth, I guess, other than the hard tangibles like gold. These weak data, this is CNBC, these weak data releases come a day after central bank policymakers chose to keep rates at the highest levels in 2 decades. The stock market doesn't know whether to laugh or cry because while 3 federal rate cuts may be coming this year and 10-year bond yields are falling below 4%, the winds of a recession are coming in hard. Hard. And even big tech stocks, such as Nvidia, felt the pain with the artificial intelligence chip leader off 6.7%. They're all getting slammed. And again, many of you have pensions in these funds. You may not even be aware of it. So Bidenomics, Kamalanomics, I think I'll call it for now, Mr. Producer. Kamalanomics is destroying the economy. Many of you have been suffering under this for a long time. Well, it's only going to get worse now. It's only going to get worse. So you know what Kamala Harris did? She blamed Trump. It's Trump's fault, says the invisible candidate. Even a full term, nearly a full term after he left office, it's Trump's fault. Fox Harris campaign is blaming former President Trump for the latest negative job reports, nearly a full term after he left office. That's 4 years. They said Donald Trump failed America as president, costing our economy millions of jobs and bringing us to the brink of recession, said James Singer, Harris spokesperson. May I ask you a question? Does Kamala Harris actually exist? Or is this like an AI punk that's going on, Mr. Producer? Where is she? She just shows up where the clapping seals jump up. Yay, Kamala, yay, yay, yay. No questioning, no challenging. She's handed now a nomination without a single vote from a single citizen for president. They don't even wait to the convention to nominate her. They nominated her virtually. Virtually. People sitting at their computers in their underwear voting for her. So they didn't want an open convention where somebody might challenge or somebody might vote against her. No debate, no discussion. Brings me to a topic. There's a lot to get to here, but I want to get into this. In other words, the economy is flattening, ladies and gentlemen, starting to crater. Contraction with high rates. It's, the recession. No, it's stagflation. It's even worse. That's a recession with inflation. And people are going to hurt like hell. But, of course, they won't discuss that in the media. They're too stupid or they're just too ideological. So Harris has enough delegates now to get the nomination for president before the Democrat convention. She never had any challenger, anybody to challenge her at the convention. She's being installed, has never received a vote from anybody for president. Is this democracy? Democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, the great George Orwell said that even the greatest tyrants on the face of the earth claim that they run democracies, their countries are democracies. The Democrat Party claims all the time. All the time. That it's supporting democracy, it's protecting democracy. What just took place, just now, these virtual counting of delegates and all the rest of it. What just took place was the hijacking of the democratic electoral system. That's what that is. What took place? The removal of Biden, the installing of Harris. It actually gets worse. She refuses to be interviewed by anybody that might ask her tough questions. Period. She refuses to be interviewed. I'm ready to debate, she says. How about getting an interview? And the reason is her record is so extremist, so Islamist and Marxist, so out of even the left-wing mainstream, that she can't win if that's exposed. She's walking her positions back, but she really isn't. Her campaign is saying she is. So we have a stealth candidate who won't present herself to the voters, to you and me, the American people. We're the ones who she's running from. She's running from us. And so, is this democracy? Moreover, what's the purpose of voting? What's the purpose of voting? The purpose of voting is more than a mechanical act. It's more than a ministerial act. The Democrats talk about they want more people to vote. They talk about repression, suppression, oppression. There should be voter ID. There should be. That's all process. There's no reason to vote if one of the candidates who's running won't present herself so that she can be questioned, so that you can actually know where she stands today. So you have to guess, or they have surrogates in the media, phony journalists, who tell you what she thinks. Or clowns who have night comic shows, or morons who have podcasts telling you what she thinks and telling you what you ought to think about Trump. Trump is ubiquitous. He's everywhere. He goes to hostile forums, non-hostile forums. They set him up. That one forum recently, National Association of Black Journalists, they asked him a question they would never ask Biden, and Biden is the man who was a racist and segregationist. Biden has said 1,000 things that are racist. And, of course, the main question of Kamala Harris is, what kind of a morality do you have that you would agree to run as vice president and be vice president to a man who opposed the integration of schools? You said it yourself during the 2016 debate, but she'll never be questioned about that. Every election cycle, the Republican is a racist and a sexist. Doesn't matter who it is. Let's stop playing games. It's Trump. And it was Trump before and Trump before that. But they pulled the same thing with Reagan. They pulled the same thing even with the Bushes, who are as milquetoast as it gets. So this isn't democracy. This isn't even voting. The reason you vote is to vote for somebody whose views you agree with, or to vote against somebody whose views you disagree with. So when a candidate is self-imposed in a witness protection program, I'll call it a candidate protection program, so all the backbenchers have something to say, a candidate protection program where the media does her bidding, her hope is to run out the clock. Ladies and gentlemen, there's 3 months left. That's it. 3 months. 90 plus days. That's it. And the vast majority of America has no idea who Kamala Harris is. No idea. So the media are creating a person. They're creating a fiction. They're creating a character. And they're doing it because Kamala Harris is a horrendous candidate who has a horrendous public record and personally treats people like crap. She's had a 92% turnover and her office as vice president of the United States. And I'm going to get into more of this. She's a nasty person with a foul mouth when the door is closed. She brutally bullies the little people. Now, the media know this. There's enough stories. Go ahead and Google them. About people coming out, people off the record, about how she treats people. She treats them like crap. There's the record of her associations with Islamist organizations, terrorist front groups like CARE. And if you thought Jeremiah Wright was bad, you ought to find out about this guy Amos Brown, who blamed America for 9/11. That's her pastor, who she called as soon as she learned that Biden was dropping out and he endorsed her for president. That's who she called. I don't care how many Jews she surrounds herself with, like that dumb husband of hers or Josh Shapiro or anybody else. They have their own motives. They have their own reasons. They have their own personal lives. Who cares? We want to know about Kamala Harris. Enough with the identity crap. That's not what we're voting for. We have a right as the American people to demand that she come out from hiding, that she not only go to audiences that jump up like clapping seals. On the left, the Democrat Party, you name it. But she won't do it. Can you imagine? She's so scared of we the people. She's frightened of we the people, that we will know who she is, that we'll know how dim-witted she is, that we'll know what an extremist she is, that we know that she'll have to abandon her extreme positions, at least during the campaign, but she'll re-embrace them after the campaign. We're all supposed to sit here and watch. It's our country. It's our country. What will Kamala Harris do to help the economy? No idea. What will she do to secure the border? No idea. What will she do about terrorism other than embrace their front groups? Nothing. We have a right to ask her questions. We have a right for people who are supposed to ask tough questions to have access to her to ask tough questions. The Democrat Party wants a coronation. The Democrat Party, look, they had Biden in there for 4 years. They might as well have an orange juice can in there. Now, Kamala Harris, 1 year ago, she had the worst ratings of any vice president, NBC said, in the history of record keeping. The worst. Now she's said to be tied or leading Trump. How did that happen? How did it happen? It happened because the media are pushing, they're pushing a falsehood. They're creating an image. It's their own AI. Well, a lot more to say, and I'm going to continue. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times, and September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver using existing retirement savings with zero fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional. What are Kamala Harris's great substantive accomplishments? I don't want to hear she's the first this and that. That's not a substantive accomplishment. You're a public official, a public trust. Was she a great district attorney? No, she was a disaster. Was she a great attorney general? No, she was a disaster. Was she a great senator? She was only there a little bit. She didn't do a damn thing. Was she a great vice president? She wants a promotion to the presidency because the Democrat Party seeks to impose her on us, the corporate media, the most powerful entity, in the United States, seeks to impose her on us? What is it, some kind of a dictatorship? Some kind of a fascist regime? The Democrat Party, look at them. They've gone through a so-called nomination process that would make Putin smile. That would make Xi smile, Un smile. Phony. A phony election process. Phony. They claim democracy. There's nothing democratic about it. Nothing. And a lot of people just don't seem to give a damn. But I want to congratulate the New York Post that found this 5-year-old piece, 4.5-year-old piece in The Union, theunion.com, written by Terry McAteer, entitled Another Side to Kamala Harris. Now, the media know that she's nasty and hateful. The media know that she's a bully, that she screams at junior staff. The media know that she tells them not to look at her in the eye. The media know she drops the F-bomb. She curses like a drunken Marxist. But look how they pretend that she's something special. She's just unbelievable. Why don't they report those things? Why is it that a handful of outlets do it? Why isn't this big news? The way you treat people determines how you're going to treat we the people. 92% of Kamala's staff left in her first 3 years as vice president. Kamala Harris's office has had a staggering 91.5% turnover rate since she became vice president. An investigation from government watchdog organization Open the Books revealed of the 47 staff members hired when Harris took office 2021, only 4 reportedly remained in her employment as of March 2024. Some of these are big-name Democrats. Some of them are actually on CNN and MSNBC. Chaos reigns on the vice president's staff, wrote OTB founder Adam, I can't pronounce it. Our auditors at the Open Books quantified an extraordinarily high 91.5% turnover rate. I want to dig into this. Oh, and by the way, Josh Shapiro, he's got a skeleton in his closet, too. Hi, this is Mark Levin, and I've got an urgent message that can't wait. September 18th is coming, and with it, President Trump's sentencing. We're staring down this barrel again of potential market chaos. The question isn't if there's going to be a fallout, but how much. In times of instability, many smart investors turn to gold as part of diversification. And when I think of gold, I think of Advantage Gold. These folks are true partners in helping Americans find financial stability. Advantage Gold's experts understand the connection between politics and economics, and they can navigate you through these crazy times using gold to help shield your hard-earned wealth. So call my trusted friends at Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. If you wait until September 18th, it might be too late. 800-900-8000 for your free investment kit. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin, the research arm of conservative media. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Payrolls provide further insight into the staff exodus in Harris's office as vice president. As The Atlantic reported in October 2023, of course, The Atlantic has gone south now, Harris Communications Director, National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff, and numerous aides left within a year and a year and a half of her taking office. Furthermore, the turnover chaos isn't getting better. In the trailing 12-month period, 24 staffers left. That's almost half the employees. OTB's investigation also revealed budget discrepancies and a lack of transparency from Harris's office. He said Kamala Harris, Office of Vice President, is committed to the opacity of its payrolls and all other office information, that is, covering it up. When OTB filed a FOIA request from Harris's office on staff payroll in September 2021, a spokesman reportedly declined the request, claimed the vice president's office was not subject to FOIA. When OTB replied with a request for any transparency Harris's office could provide, the spokesman said Harris did not have any information to share at this time. The VP's rejection makes her the least transparent elected office holder in the country, he said. In a 2021 Forbes article detailing the interaction, citizens ought to be concerned that the person next in line for the presidency is so unwilling to disclose how she spends her money. Now she wants to be president. And the media are fine. OTB's investigation also revealed an over $2 million discrepancy in Harris's allocation of taxpayer dollars. Harris's office reportedly refused to answer any questions from OTB regarding this inconsistency. OTB says its analysis reflects the dysfunction widely reported in the corporate media, which he says have called Harris's office revolving door where there's been a staff exodus of key aides heading for the exits. The media haven't written about this in at least 12 months, with a few exceptions, because now they're in rewrite, cover-up, flip-flop, lying mode. Staffers in Harris' office have reported a toxic work environment since 2021, when the Washington Post spoke with 18 individuals in Harris's orbit. Why don't they speak to them now? That's 3 years ago. Descriptions range from uncomfortable to soul-destroying. One of the things we've said in our little text groups among each other is what is the common denominator through all this, and it's her. Former Harris aide and Democrat strategist Gil Duran told the Post back then, and back in 2013, after just 5 months of working for Harris, he quit. Who are the next talented people you're going to bring in and burn through and then have them pretend they're retiring for positive reasons, he said. Others said Harris blamed staff for her lack of preparation. It's clear that you're not working with somebody who's willing to do the prep and the work. Does that bother anybody? With Kamala, you have to put up with a constant amount of soul-destroying criticism and also her own lack of confidence. So you're constantly propping up a bully, and it's not really clear why. You don't get this impression from the media today, do you, Mr. Producer? Here's a father, thanks to the New York Post today, here's a father who went to the pages of his local paper, The Union, 5 years ago. Name's Terry McTeer, Democrat, and he wrote another side of Kamala Harris. This is November 5, 2019. Says, as many of you know, my family has some long political roots. My dad, Eugene McAteer, was a San Francisco supervisor and state senator till his untimely death at the age of 51. I pursued the educational political route, was elected Nevada County Superintendent of Schools for 6 4-year terms. Our son Gregory loves politics and thought that it also might be his passion. Well, a few years ago, I assisted him in securing a summer non-paid internship with Senator Dianne Feinstein in her San Francisco office. Feinstein's office was unable to have Gregory start in June but told him that then Attorney General Kamala Harris was looking for summer interns. Uh-oh. Well, I have nothing against now Senator Harris, as she is a good orator and has done some fine things while holding elective office. I believe, however, how she treats her staff is as important as an individual's legislative accomplishments. A person's character is probably one of the most important attributes for someone wanting to obtain the office of president. But apparently it doesn't matter to Biden and the Democrat Party. Apparently it doesn't matter to the American media. Pravda, Al Jazeera. Presidential candidate and U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, she's another one, had drawn scrutiny for her berating treatment of her staff. This particular flaw by elected officials in dealing with common courtesy and respect towards staff is something for which most people in this country have little tolerance. Rich, open your microphone. All right, well, just tell me your microphone doesn't cut it. We don't have an abusive relationship, do we? We don't have an abusive environment here, do we? 22 years later, if I had anybody quit as a result of me berating them or bullying them, anybody? No. And we've had zero turnover. The only turnover we've had is people getting promotions, becoming talk show hosts or podcast hosts and so forth and so on. There's been nothing. Zero. It's not hard to treat. You can be tough. You can be exacting. You can be demanding. But you don't have to be an a-hole. But she is. She's an a-hole. Presidential candidate Klobuchar, the particular flaw by elected officials in dealing with common courtesy and respect towards staff is something for which most people in this country have little tolerance. Sure, the job is stressful and we've all dealt with an angry boss in our lives, but there's another side of Kamala Harris which the general public does not know. This is where the cover-up is in the American media. Gregory had an eye-opening experience in Harris's office that none of us expected. For his sake, the month could not pass quickly enough. 1 month. Needless to say, was delighted to work in Feinstein's office for the rest of the summer. 4 short episodes I would like to share of this month-long internship for Kamala Harris. 1 month. Senator Harris vocally throws around F-bombs and other profanity constantly in her berating of staff and others. Do you realize, folks, that this is an actionable offense? And HR departments will tell you that. It's an actionable offense. The staff is in complete fear of her, and she uses her profanity throughout the day. Isn't that interesting? I didn't hear this on CNN or MSNBC. I haven't read it in the New York Times from Maggie Haberman or the Washington Compost. Wow. As Attorney General, Senator Harris instructed her entire staff to stand every morning as she entered the office and say, "Good morning, General." I wonder if this will be reported by The View. The 5 lying pukes on The View. Never once during the month-long internship did Harris introduce herself to our son, as he was only in the office with 20 paid employees, in other words, a small office. And staff was too intimidated by her to introduce him. The only acknowledgement was a form letter of thanks signed by Harris given to him on his last day of service. My son Gregor was also given instructions to never address Harris nor look her in the eye, as that privilege was only allowed to senior staff members. Oh, she's psychotic. She's a head case. She's a head case. I don't know about you, but this is not the workplace of someone who respects her staff, he writes. For a woman of color to have employees stand when she enters the room smacks of a bygone era that we as Americans deplore and find demeaning. Furthermore, that she didn't show the quality of leadership skills or even being a decent boss, much less the class to approach Gregory at least once during the month to say, "Hi, I'm Kamala Harris, and I want to thank you for volunteering in my office," is really troubling. Finally, what is up with the "don't look in her eye" instruction? I don't know. Or he says, I wouldn't want to work in that kind of a hostile environment, and that's the point. She creates an illegal, hostile environment. I had Gregory read the piece before submitting it, and he's willing to put his own integrity on the line because the truth is important to him. In fact, integrity and character are still virtues that can and should be upheld in our politicians and politics. We just haven't seen them in a while. This is a Democrat, a known Democrat at the time in the San Francisco area. And then he became a Nevada County superintendent of schools. His father was a state senator, San Francisco supervisor. Now, they can't all be lying. They can't all be wrong. All the people who resigned, are they tracking them down over there at CNN and MSNBC to talk to all these former employees? Why not? Why not? And now the Philadelphia Inquirer. The Philadelphia Inquirer is probably one of the most left-wing newspapers in America. And yet here they actually wrote something. Let's go through it together. How a sexual harassment scandal involving a Josh Shapiro aide could affect the Pennsylvania governor's vice president chances. Now, ladies and gentlemen, apparently this has been out here for a long time, and it's not been picked up by CNN or MSNBC. It's even in the Philadelphia Inquirer. They didn't report on this today. In fact, this has been in the Philadelphia Inquirer for the last 4 days. Have you heard about it? Shapiro's relationship with Mike Vereb, a top aide who resigned last year amid a sexual harassment investigation, is drawing scrutiny as Kamala Harris vets the governor as a potential running mate. With Governor Josh Shapiro emerging as a potential frontrunner to become Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, one of the only scandals to mark his 2 decades in Pennsylvania politics has resurfaced. Been governor for about 14 minutes, by the way. Aaron McClellan, the Democrat nominee for state treasurer in November's election, drew eyeballs last week with a thinly veiled and unusual intra-party jab. That's right. We're all marching line. We click our heels. We don't. Call out. Our leaders. Saying in a tweet that she wanted a vice presidential pick who, among other things, doesn't sweep sexual harassment under the rug. Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for all the women on TV, MSNBC and CNN, to demand to get to the bottom of this. Come on, guys. Right? Right? And try to do it without mentioning Trump. Just try once. Though she didn't identify Shapiro by name, McClellan's pointed remarks were widely interpreted as a reference to the resignation last year of one of Shapiro's top aides and closest allies, Mike Vereb, V-E-R-E-B, amid a sexual harassment investigation. Vereb, 57, abruptly stepped down in September, 3 weeks after Shapiro's administration quietly agreed to pay $295,000 to settle claims from a governor's office employee who said he'd made repeated sexual advances toward her and often spoke openly and lewdly about her, other staff members, and a female state senator. Shapiro's administration has largely avoided discussing Vereb in the year since. Yeah, that's it. See, the media are like a pillow. They cover the face and they smother the issues, describing his departure as a private personnel matter while maintaining it takes allegations of discrimination and harassment seriously, apparently not seriously enough. His silence, Shapiro's silence, has drawn criticism from female state lawmakers in both parties who've called for a more transparent accounting of what Shapiro knew about his aide's conduct and when. This isn't anywhere on national TV. This isn't anywhere in the national media. All we hear about is, oh, that's a battleground state. They could use that guy. Plus, he's Jewish. You might help him with. What about this? Who is Mike Vereb? Vereb most recently served as Shapiro's legislative secretary, as a core member of his cabinet. One of the few people who has consistently been a part of the governor's close, personal circle of advisors over the years. Their relationship dates back 20 years to when Vereb, a Republican, and Shapiro, a Democrat, served alongside each other in the State House, where they both represented Montgomery County, which is where I'm from, between 2007 and 2012. There, Vereb, who represented West Norriton-based district, and Shapiro represented Abington. Oh, for God's sake. That's the township that was next to mine. Forged a bipartisan friendship and often teamed up together to advance legislation in the county's interest. And when Shapiro was elected Attorney General in 2016, he named Vereb in one of his first appointments in the job as his office's primary liaison to the rest of the state government. And after Shapiro's election to government, he quickly named Vereb to his cabinet post. And as Shapiro's top liaison to the General Assembly, Vera played a key role in guiding the administration's interactions with the legislature. But he abruptly resigned in September last year, less than 9 months into the job. Why? Though the administration offered no explanation for Verib's sudden decision to leave his job, the Inquirer reported last year his departure had followed an accusation that he'd sexually harassed a female aide. His accuser, who worked alongside Verib for less than 2 months before resigning her position in early 2023, said he'd repeatedly made suggestive comments and innuendos toward her that left her feeling uneasy, such as suggesting she should wear lower-cut tops and higher slit skirts. At one point, she said Verib compared her to another female staffer in his office whom he said he wasn't sexually interested in because she was a type A personality. Would probably make him iron her sheets and pillowcases before sex, quote unquote. And when the accuser warned Verib that his behavior toward her had become the subject of office gossip, he turned on her and demanded to know who was talking about them, made another sexual pass. He insisted that if they decided to have a sexual relationship, it would be our business, he said. You decided you wanted to do that, Verib allegedly told the woman. Go close the door to this office. Tell me to Ben. I'm not going to read this. There's more about how Shapiro runs his office and his best buddy, his top man in his cabinet, and how they put a pillow over this issue and smothered it, and how the national media are doing exactly the same thing. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times, and September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver using existing retirement savings with zero fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional. All right. Man, oh man, I got so much. It's Friday. Foot's on the gas pedal. We need all 3 hours tonight. By the way, as an aside, I want to get into this later. If Tel Aviv is hit by the Islamo-Nazi regimes of the groups in the region, then Israel needs to hit Tehran. Israel hits Tehran. That's it. No more proxies. I mean, you got to wipe out the proxies and deal with them too. But Tehran is in this war. Tehran is behind all this. And Tehran has, so far, escaped virtually all retribution. That's my view. Now, what kind of investigation occurred when it came to Josh Shapiro's best friend? Well, after the break, I want to tell you. Because I want you to know about Josh Shapiro. The Philadelphia Inquirer, which is a very left-wing pro-Democrat paper, they thought enough about this to put it out. And I suspect the reason they did it is they're afraid that if Kamala Harris picks this guy, he could wind up being a problem. My view is, let's expose it. And let's expose her. These are two lousy people. Rotten people. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, Deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
This is an extraordinary day, and I'm very thankful for our president and what he has done over his entire career, but in particular as it relates to these families and these individuals, what he has been able to do to bring the allies together on many issues, but in particular this one. This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances.
Okay. Let me. This is just extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. Okay, this is why they don't want her any more than they want Biden to talk off the cuff. This is why they don't want her interviewed. This is why CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and the Washington Post and the networks are doing everything they can to protect her the way they protected Biden. But as I said, Biden had an excuse. He has dementia. What's Kamala Harris's excuse? Folks, she's not smart. That's the facts. It happens. She's not smart. And she's conniving. And she's constantly working her way through the system. And she's doing it right now. She was just handed the nomination of the presidential race of the Democrat Party. She did nothing. It was delivered to her by the party, by the press. No opposition whatsoever. No real convention. They're going to go to the convention. She's already the nominee. She became the nominee this weekend. Did you know about it? No, nobody knows about it. See, we're just the plebes. We're just the worker bees. As the ruling class does its thing, as the Democrat Party takes over the ruling class, you and I, we're just the worker bees, and that's the way it works in American Marxism. Now let's get back to Josh Shapiro. There's so much here. I don't know. How do the media miss it? They miss it because they don't want to use it. They know it. Josh Shapiro's the lead on my list. That's what Pennsylvania. He delivered Pennsylvania. After reporting her encounters with Vereb at that meeting in March 2023, and a subsequent meeting with other Shapiro administration staffers days later, the woman who was sexually harassed ultimately decided to leave her job. Neither she nor Vereb has publicly discussed her allegations in the months since. Remember, she was paid almost $300,000 by Governor Shapiro's office. How come they don't talk about the NDA there? How come there's no lawsuit brought? Huh? What sort of investigation occurred? Asked the Philadelphia Inquirer. They answered their question. Vereb's accuser gave a statement to the State Office of Equal Opportunity, part of the executive branch, the same month she resigned. She also filed a separate complaint with the State Human Relations Commission in June 2023. Both entities handle complaints of workplace discrimination from government employees and typically conduct their probes in secret. It remains unclear just how far the complaints against Vereb progressed through the investigative process before Shapiro's administration agreed to pay her a $295,000 settlement in September of last year. Hush money. I thought it was hush money, Mr. Producer. What is this? It's only hush money when people sign non-disclosure agreements with Trump. This is hush money. Shapiro, his office, paid hush money. The agreement did not include any admission of wrongdoing from Vereb or the governor's office and required all parties to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Oh, hush money. Barring them from publicly discussing the accuser's allegations. You know what? I hope she does pick this guy, because I'm going to pick him to pieces. If she picks this guy on Monday, I will talk about it on the weekend, next weekend. The governor's office has since said it cannot discuss the matter. A spokesperson for Shapiro maintained at the time the administration had robust procedures in place for thoroughly investigating reports of discrimination and harassment that provide detailed guidance to help ensure that allegations yak. What did Shapiro know? And when did he know it? The timeline of when Shapiro first learned of the allegations against his aide remains hazy. Oh, he's not transparent. Interesting. Though his accuser lodged her accusations in March 2023, less than 2 months after Shapiro took over the governor's office, Verb continued to play a prominent role in Shapiro's administration for months, until his September resignation. And by that time, copies of the woman's supposedly confidential complaint and statement to investigators had been circulating among lawmakers and lobbyists for weeks. So the governor knew. Or is he going to play the rope-a-dope like Kamala Harris? Shapiro and his office have not directly commented on the allegations against Vereb or the circumstances of his resignation. In the administration's news release announcing Vereb's departure, Shapiro's chief of staff, Dana Fritz, lauded him as a key member of our team who had spent decades serving our Commonwealth and chasing women around the table. I added that. That release did not include a direct statement from Shapiro. You see, Harris issues statements that aren't her statements, staff statements, and apparently Shapiro does it. It's a new thing. However, the governor defended his administration's handling of harassment and discrimination complaints during a news conference a week after Vereb's departure, once news of the allegations against him had emerged. So he defends it. That is how his office acted. You owe it to a victim to make sure that you have a confidential process. You have a rigorous process that's grounded in integrity to ensure that their voice can be heard and to ensure that appropriate outcomes are brought about, Shapiro said. We're committed to doing that in our administration. You paid hush money, $295,000. That's what you guys said 6-8 months ago. It's hush money. This is hush money. So Shapiro's office, with his acknowledgement, his knowledge, he had to sign off on it, paid hush money to shut this woman up. Now, Kamala, what do you think of that? What does this mean for Shapiro's chances of being picked as Kamala Harris's running mate? It's not yet clear whether the scandal involving Vereb could prevent Shapiro from getting onto the Democratic ticket this year, but he has faced backlash over it in the last week. Really? I didn't hear about it. Did you, Mr. Producer? Where is it in the national media? Last week's tweet by McClellan, the Democrat nominee for state treasurer, injected the Vereb episode into the ongoing debate over who Harris should pick as her running mate and could fuel a new round of demands for Shapiro to more fully explain his handling of the allegations against his advisor. This is getting national attention now because I'm reading this. Otherwise, it would not be receiving national attention. Just wouldn't. And we've put it on our media sites so millions and millions of people can read it. Our social platforms. And Shapiro's detractors in the Veep-stake race have begun circulating opposition research. That's not opposition research. These are facts. Seeking to tie him to his aide's past conduct, hoping it'll serve as a strike against him in a year in which a woman is leading the Democrat ticket and is seeking to portray former President Trump as the womanizer candidate. And that criticism isn't new. Since Vereb stepped down, female state lawmakers of both parties have criticized the Shapiro administration's lack of transparency. Again, you wouldn't know it if you read the Washington Compost or the New York Slimes. You wouldn't know it if you listen to fake Jake Tap-Out Tapper or Dana Bash, idiot, low IQ. I don't think they covered this. What about the morning schmo and Mrs. Schmo? I don't know. About Rachel Madcow? No, I don't think so. What about all the Republicans and never Trumpers that the cable networks hired? I don't think anybody said anything. No. It really makes me angry that I have to stop thinking because I'll say things I shouldn't. State Senate President Pro Tem Kim Ward, Republican Westmoreland, told the Inquirer last year, it's so infuriating that Vereb stayed in that position for months. One of the highest positions in the administration. It was a cover-up and hush money. Keep something in mind. The non-disclosure agreement that Donald Trump signed, he signed before he was president. Or when he was a candidate. This guy's governor. The sexual harassment's going on in his office. $295,000 in Pennsylvania state taxpayer money. And he won't comment on it. Notice there's no lawfare against Josh Shapiro. Notice that? Nothing. But I'm going to do something I haven't done in my entire life. As somebody born in Philadelphia and raised in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. Somebody went to Temple University in Philadelphia. Somebody went to Temple University Law School in Philadelphia. I'm a Philadelphian. Congratulations, Philadelphia Inquirer, for the first time in your lousy, rotten corporate career. Seriously. The Washington Post wouldn't do this. The New York Times wouldn't do this. CNN, MSNBC wouldn't do this. NBC, ABC, CBS, they're not going to do it. They're going to keep this quiet. And if he is chosen, Josh Shapiro, they will circle the wagons around this man, and they'll just say, look at Trump, look at Trump, look at Trump. Because that's all they do. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk. All right, I got too much to do. I'm sick and tired of people raising questions about people's race. Are you Indian? Or are you black? Or are you both? So imagine my frustration on September 20, 2022, when Sunny Houston on The View, whose real name is Asuncion Cummings. Excuse you? That's correct. Was questioning Nikki Haley. Is she a chameleon for not using her Indian name? Anybody remember this? Oh, yes. Sunny Houston, whose real name, who she doesn't use, Asuncion Cummings. Whoopi Goldberg doesn't use her real name. Her first name is Karen. Yes, she's a Karen. And we can go down the list. What's that jerk's name? That John, I don't remember. Lipschitz. Leibowitz. John Leibowitz. Who's Jon Stewart. Anyway, Sunny Houston here. And the other person you hear is Farah and then Haynes. But anyway, here we go. Cut 12, go.
Nikki Haley's gone by Nikki since she was a child. It's documented in high school. I wouldn't be shocked that as somebody, an Indian woman growing up in South Carolina at that time, she actually did to avoid prejudice. So I just want to be careful about critiquing her for going by the name she's always gone by.
There are some of us that can be chameleons and decide not to embrace our ethnicity so that we can pass.
Sonny, I don't think that's fair.
You go by a different name.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the one to say it.
Most Americans can't pronounce Asuncion because of the undereducation.
But I think it's hard to say, too. I don't blame her.
But sometimes I would say what Alyssa's saying is that people gravitate to names for different reasons.
No, I'm just going to kill this conversation.
Yeah, you do that, Karen. Now, so Sunny Houston, Asuncion Cummings. Why does Nikki Haley use this sort of English name, this Americanized name, rather than her Indian name? Why does she do that? Why does she do that? She's a chameleon. I see. So that makes Sunny Houston a racist, right? Again, I don't like any of this. I am pointing out the disgusting hypocrisy in the media. Where the left, the Democrats, discuss race, throw race around, are racialists, are race baiters, say the most hateful and horrendous things. And then they go, oh, look over there, look at him. Don Lemon. February 2019. Is Kamala Harris an African American? Now, Don Lemon's an African American, and April Ryan, another left-wing pretend journalist, she's an African American. And so here are two African Americans debating whether Kamala Harris is an African American. Journalists. National Association of Black Journalists. Journalists. Oh, do tell. Cut 13, go.
I agree with that, but is she African American? No. But is she African American? There's a difference. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is trying to take anything away from her.
Let's go down into her lineage.
I think you're falling into a trap of that. All she had to do was say, I am black, but I'm not African American. That's it.
I'm not falling in a trap. I'm not falling in. Let me finish. Hold on. I'm not falling into a trap by that. When she goes down her lineage, many Africans landed in Jamaica and all these other Caribbean islands. So she could indeed be African American mixed with others. But she is
Jamaica's not America.
But she is a black woman. She was born here.
Come out of Jim Crow.
Okay, well let's go into Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was born in Canada. I'm not talking about Ted Cruz. This is not about Ted Cruz. You're changing the subject. But you know what? We cannot. It was hypocrisy. I'm not changing the subject.
Yes, you are changing the subject.
She's a black woman. I don't know what you want.
Cruz.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness, Mr. Producer. Wow. CNN, August 2020. A puff piece on Kamala Harris and her Indian roots, which she wears on her sleeve, they say. CNN is very racialistic. With all their white hosts, by the way. Cut 14, go.
My mother, who raised me and my sister, was a proud woman. She was a brown woman. She was a woman with a heavy accent.
And her mother, Shamla Gopalan, was also the biggest influence in Kamala Harris's life.
The answer is absolutely yes, Joe.
After the big announcement, Harris's sister wrote in a Twitter post, "You can't know who Kamala Harris is without knowing who our mother was." In 1958, a precocious 19-year-old Indian, Gopalan traveled thousands of miles from her home and family to pursue a doctorate in nutrition and endocrinology in America. She soon became an active civil rights crusader while studying at UC Berkeley.
Once she went there, she almost felt free. And she took part in politics. She used to bring a whole series of literature, leftist literature from Karl Popper's, he was a great philosopher.
In her book, Harris says, "There is no title or honor on earth I'll treasure more than to say I am Shamla Gopalan Harris's daughter." Harris's visits to India with her mother kept her connected to her roots. Her grandfather, who had strong views on...
All right, that's enough. You get the drift. So CNN, very racialized. You see the debate between two African Americans over whether she's an African American or not. And now you see this 2.5-minute piece on her Indian roots. All this gets away from the substance, doesn't it? Most of us don't give a damn about any of this, do we? It's rubbed in our face. It's brought up every day. All the headlines are the first African American and Southeast Asian woman to ever be nominated president. And then you fill in the blank. That doesn't do a damn thing about securing the border or our country, doesn't do a damn thing about the price of groceries, doesn't do a damn thing about inflation, your ability to get through life, has nothing to do with substance, nothing to do with public policy, nothing to do with governing. Nothing. Zero. But for the Democrats to pretend, they're so self-righteous. No. It's the Democrats. Slavery, segregation, eugenics, Jim Crow. It's the Democrats opposed to integrating our public schools. Ask their guy Joe Biden about that one. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk.
The Mark Levin Show, live and national at 877-381-3811.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Trump campaign and the people advising President Trump should not get stuck in the mud of the racialism and the race baiting that's taking place. And that's what happened at the National Association of Black Journalists. That is, it was a setup. It was a setup. They would never treat Joe Biden that way, despite Joe Biden's actual involvement in trying to prevent black kids from going to school with white kids in public schools. You see none of that in Donald Trump's career. Donald Trump was a Democrat for most of his life. And he backed Democrats for most of his life. But like Reagan, he said the party left him. And Reagan said the party left me. The fact of the matter is, Joe Biden has always been a racist and a segregationist, and I've said before, an anti-Semite. He's the worst of the worst. He's old school. He's old school. The issues, two things. Number one, the issues, and number two, the fact that Kamala Harris won't come out from hiding. Oh yeah, she goes in front of crowds that jump up and down like clapping seals and praise her. The UAW boss, the Democrat Party operatives in this town or that town or the other town, the AFT, but she won't go anywhere where she'll be challenged. She won't go anywhere where her past will be used to force her to explain her flip-flops. She's an economic illiterate. She's not very bright. I'm being honest with you. Maybe she can do well in a debate, but you know what? This country's too important for one debate to make any decision about anything. The vast majority of Americans don't know who she is because of the manner in which the Democrat Party selected her as their nominee. That's unacceptable. That's not democracy. And you want to talk about voter suppression? That's voter suppression. Voting is a ministerial act, but the purpose of voting is so the people can make a decision about the person, their viewpoints. They need to be knowledgeable and informed. And the entire campaign for Kamala Harris, run by the media and the Kamala Harris campaign and the Democrat Party, is to keep as many people as uninformed as possible, to push propaganda through in-kind media contributions with $1 billion in propaganda, and to raise hundreds of millions of dollars to push lies and propaganda into our homes, into our TV sets, on the internet, and so forth and so on about Kamala Harris. But we never get to see Kamala Harris questioned by somebody who can actually question her. We're being manipulated. She is hiding from we the people. She's hiding from us. The way Biden hid from us. The media helped Biden hide from us. The media are helping Kamala Harris hide from us. You don't go from the lowest of the low in terms of popularity with the American people. All of a sudden you're in the 50s. What changed? What changed? Did she say something profound? Did we find out something remarkable about her? No. It's the big lie. It's the repetition. And they know this. They're going to do everything they can to keep her from going rogue. That's the goal. By the way, in hour 3, our friend Senator Ted Cruz will be visiting us. And so here it is, USA Today. Rebecca Marin and Joey Garrison. Harris makes history as the first black woman Asian American presidential nominee. People are proud of this. I get that. Why wouldn't they be? But they don't talk about how she got there. They don't talk about the corrupt Democrat Party, the anti-democratic process. There's not a single American who voted for president in the primaries who chose her. The fact that the Democrat Party establishment and ruling class crushed any competition, crushed it, pushed Robert F. Kennedy out of the party, made it clear they were not going to have a mini primary. Remember that? Mini primary where there's transparency. Never happened. They're going to have a convention where the outcome's already known. The delegates have already voted. They voted now, today, and yesterday, and they'll vote tomorrow, and it's over. Harris secured the Democrat nomination Friday afternoon, receiving the majority of votes, at least 2,350 from her party's delegates. Democratic National Committee held a live stream video hosted by Biden campaign aides and DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison to mark the occasion. So here's people sitting in their basements with 3 days of growth on their face, men and women, sitting in their underwear, probably having a beer, having a good old time. I'm running for Harris, The old convention's dead. We actually had people from the floor nominating somebody else. They didn't want any of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is as scripted gets. This is as scripted as it's been for Un and Xi and Putin. This is what it is. And now, in addition to this, on top of this, the campaign is keeping her from we the people. From we the people. We're real journalists, which are about 7 who are left. Real journalists, if that many, can question her. I mean, Lester Holt, who is a real journalist, he asked her some simple questions. Have you ever been to the border? She screwed that up. I've never been to Europe either. Oh, I don't understand the point of your question. And then they slobber all over her in USA Today because that's the way it's going. That's why I call it the Pravda Al Jazeera media. Because it is the Pravda Al Jazeera media. It's not a serious media. It's only serious about advancing their cause. I told you last night, the most powerful entity in the country, it's not the oil companies, it's not Wall Street, it's not the pharmaceutical company, the media companies. They're the most powerful. They're unregulated under our First Amendment. Multinational corporations. Multinational corporations. They don't care. This isn't even their main business. Kamala Harris. You want to hear this one? Here she is in 2017. See, she would be asked about this. Cut 7, Mr. Producer. Go.
And only when they cleared that vet did we give them DACA status. And now we're talking about taking it away.
Now, DACA, as you all know, is an illegal act because it wasn't passed by Congress, by the Obama regime. A pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens who are here. And they'll say, but they're children. Well, most of them are actually in their 30s, but that's okay. Women aren't women, children aren't children, unless they tell us you're the first woman this, the first child that. I got it. Go ahead.
Wrong. And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas, these children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas?
You know, she is so monotonous. She is so vapid with her dramatic nonsense. How dare we say Merry Christmas? How dare we? That's right. How dare we? Well, we have illegal alien children here. No place to be. How dare we say Merry Christmas? Excuse me? The hell are you? The hell do you think you are, Kamala Harris? Seriously. You think you're God's gift? So Merry Christmas. Even as a Jew, I know what Christmas is about, Mr. Producer. So you're not supposed to celebrate Merry Christmas. All you Gentiles out there, no. Kamala Harris says no. No. Go ahead.
Dare we? They will not have a Merry Christmas.
Shut up, you idiot. I'm so sick and tired of this, it's not even fun. That's right. Shut up, you idiot. These stupid remarks, just because they're said with passion. How dare we say Merry Christmas? Good Lord. Now, Kamala Harris is at George Mason University in September 2021. Now, Kamala Harris is a full adult when she says, don't say Christmas, a full adult in 2021, a full adult when she's saying all these stupid, asinine things. So I want you to turn up the volume. It's a little difficult to hear. Here she is at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. A mere 3 years ago. Cut 8, go.
But then just a few days ago, there were funds allocated to continue backing Israel, which hurts my heart because it's an ethnic genocide and the displacement of people, the same that
That's right,
happened
Israel, the blood libel, ethnic genocide and displacement of people. And she's there listening. Go ahead.
And I bring this up also because of the issue of how Americans are struggling because of lack of health care, public health care, lack of affordable housing, and all this money ends up going to and funding.
So here's a relative child whose brain is made of mashed potatoes and who has been brainwashed as a Marxist Islamist. And our colleges and universities are full of this. Marxist Islamists. And I'm sure Kamala Harris is going to say, wait a minute, the Israelis are not conducting ethnic genocide. No, they're not. Go ahead.
Saudi Arabia and whatnot. And I think that the people have spoken very often in what they do need. And I feel like there's a lack of listening, and I just feel like I need to bring this up because it affects my life and people I really care about's lives.
So here you have a moment where Kamala Harris can educate this child. And what does she say? Go.
This is just something that has to bring up.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. And again, this is about the fact that your voice, your perspective, your experience, your truth should not be suppressed.
Say what? Should not be suppressed? Is anybody suppressing? The only people suppressing free speech are the Democrats, the Biden-Harris regime. Schumer with the Supreme. They're the ones who are anti-Bill of Rights, anti-Constitution. They're the police state totalitarians, not us. But that's the answer. A blood libel that's 4,000 years old on the Jews. Can you imagine if some horrific thing had been said about another minority? What would Charlemagne the God say about that one? I think he'd be very upset, don't you? But it's about the Jews. Say whatever you want. But don't worry, her husband's Jewish. I don't give a damn what her husband is. I could care less. It's about her. He's not running for president. She's running for president. I'm glad you did. It's about the fact that your voice, your perspective, your experience, your truth should not be suppressed. It's an idiot. It's a moron. So when you say blood libels about Jews committing acts of ethnic genocide, don't you think that deserves some kind of response? Other than she's proud that the girl can speak? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk. Next hour, Senator Ted Cruz in the Power Hour. Joe Biden has the nerve to talk to Bibi Netanyahu last night and ream him out for taking out these mass-murdering, genocidal terrorists who want to exterminate the Jewish population. One of these mass-murdering cockroaches had killed 241 Marines. Shouldn't Israel and Netanyahu be thanked publicly for that? The other one, and there were more than two, was that fat slob in Tehran who's in charge of Hamas, who was sitting around eating pom-poms or whatever they are in Qatar, a terrorist state, and Biden publicly is saying that Netanyahu needs to cool it.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget. By the way, it'd be me. Don't forget. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, all those times. Life, Liberty, and Levin, a brand new show. Killer opening statement, I'm sure. How do I know? Because I'm going to do it. The great retired four-star General Jack Keane. The great United States Senator Tom Cotton. This is a killer show. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. But, Mark, I won't be around. That's what we have DVR for, right, Mr. Producer? So please set your DVR. You should set your DVR just in case. What if you have a flat tire? You go, oh, my God. So go ahead. Set your DVR while you're listening to the show. Just set it. On Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time it is in your time zone. Life, Liberty, and Levin. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. Set your DVR. Rich Goldberg. Really one of the number one experts on the Middle East and Iran and what the Biden administration is doing, and Jonathan Turley. You've never seen Turley and Levin together before. It's a beautiful thing. So, 2 killer shows, 2 Hall of Famer shows this Saturday, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Set your DVR. Following night, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Set your DVR. People are always talking about it later. People are always using what we do, other, people in the business. So why don't you be the first to see it? We spend a lot of time on it. We work very hard on it. That's not why you should watch. Because this is something I know that interests you and intrigues you and engages you. We don't take our audience for granted. We know our audience is smart, and that's you. There was a letter written today to Joe Biden from 48 Republican senators. Only Rand Paul, he's got issues, didn't sign it. Every other Republican senator signed it. Dear President Biden, this weekend Hezbollah fired Iranian-made missiles into northern Israel, murdering 12 children, injuring dozens in the single deadliest attack on that part of the country since October 7. The ultimate responsibility for this attack rests with Hezbollah and the Ayatollahs in Iran. However, while Tehran financed the attack and Hezbollah conducted it, your fear of escalation has left Israel exposed and our enemies emboldened. I'm proud of these Republican senators, I can't tell you. It's just fantastic. We write once again to protest your administration's partial arms embargo against Israel. The actions of the Biden-Harris administration run counter to our long history of robust military cooperation with Israel and cast doubt upon the reliability of the United States as a long-term security partner. Your actions also violate the will of Congress, as expressed in recent supplemental that funded emergency military support to Israel. When Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu publicly raised the weapons hold in June, your administration adamantly denied the accusation. You ignored congressional inquiries, including a May 6, 2024 letter from Senator Marshall, a May 6, 2024 letter from Senator Ernst, a May 14, 2024 letter from Senator Risch, and a June 2024 letter from Senator Cotton. All the while, you were deliberately delaying the delivery of weapons, ammunition, and equipment to Israel. These include 120-millimeter tank ammunition, 120-millimeter mortar ammunition, light tactical vehicles, air-to-air missiles, F-15s, F-35 engines, joint direct attack munition kits, 2,000-pound bombs, rifles, and guided missile systems. Remember, they lied and they said, we don't know what they're talking about. While your administration delays, Hamas continues to wage war against Israel, the Houthis continue to attack in the Red Sea, and Hezbollah continues its onslaught in northern Israel. Your stalling tactics are endangering our greatest ally in the Middle East, jeopardizing the lives of our American service members stationed in the region. We urge you to use every available emergency authority to expedite the physical delivery of all weapons and ammunition to Israel that have already been approved by Congress. Your administration must stop accommodating Iran and its terrorist allies. All but one Republican senator, I've never seen this before, signed this. Tom Cotton, James Risch, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, Lindsey Graham, Roger Wicker, Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, Mike Lee, Tom Tillis, Cindy Hyde-Smith, Mike Crapo, Ted Budd, Marsha Blackburn, Steve Daines, John Barrasso, Chuck Grassley, Joni Ernst, John Thune, Cynthia Loomis, Shelley Moore Caputo, John Boozman, Rick Scott, James Langford, Pete Ricketts, Katie Britt, Tommy Tuberville, Jerry Moran, Bill Haggerty, John Kennedy, Mike Braun, Ron Johnson, John Hoeven, Ted Cruz, Todd Young, Kevin Kramer, Roger Marshall, Dan Sullivan, John Cornyn, Debbie Fisher, Michael Rounds, Eric Schmidt, Mitt Romney, Mark Wayne Mullen, J.D. Vance, Josh Hawley, Bill Cassidy, Lisa Murkowski. Only Rand Paul did not. This is remarkable and important. And by the way, I didn't know 3 of the Republican senators, I knew 1 or 2, are medical doctors. Did you know that, Mr. Producer? Let me see here. Let me go down here because I just saw them. John Barrasso, we knew. He's a medical doctor. Let's see who else here. Give me a second. A lot of names on here. Roger Marshall is a medical doctor. And, of course, Cassidy is a medical doctor. Geez. Maybe I ought to run for the Senate just in case, I hit the floor with a heart problem. I got 3 medical doctors around me, Mr. Producer. And the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which has been outstanding on this, Biden's missing warning to Iran, they write today. The president signals that the Ayatollah won't pay for attacking Israel. President Biden seems to be more comfortable pressuring America's allies than its enemies. Take his answer late Thursday night when asked about the Middle East. I'm very concerned about it, he said, at a very direct meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel today. Very direct. We have the basis for a ceasefire. They should move on it. And they should move on it. A ceasefire? They're under attack, you clown. What is with these people? It's like, ceasefire? A different president might have focused on Iran, the anti-American theocracy pledging fire and fury and warned it not to attack Israel or beware of the consequences. But Mr. Biden's instinct is to press Israel, the U.S. ally, to cut a deal, to quiet the terrorists. A Gaza ceasefire is no easy call. It would mean releasing hundreds of terrorists and giving Hamas a fair chance at ruling Gaza when this ends. To free the hostages, Israel may decide to take that risk. But the least America can do is not undermine Israel, as Mr. Biden does when its leaders insist on reasonable conditions, such as control over Gaza's border with Egypt to stop Hamas from rearming. A reporter asked Mr. Biden a follow-up. Is the chance for a ceasefire ruined after the assassination of Ismail Yabadaba? You believe these reporters? They're sickening. The president replied, it hasn't helped. That's all I'm going to say right now. Not a positive word about the killing of Hamas's leader, because Hamas's defeat isn't the aim of the Biden policy. After the call with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the Biden administration said the president discussed efforts to support Israel's defense against threats, including against ballistic missiles and drones, to include new defensive U.S. military deployments. Defensive? So if they shoot at Tel Aviv, they send up defensive missiles. Now, if they shoot at Tel Aviv, Israel needs to shoot at Tehran. Don't you agree, Mr. Producer? Iran hasn't been punished. And Iran's doing the whole thing. Defense is good and important, but during the call, reports Barak Ravid of Axios, this guy is a mouthpiece for Blinken, for Sullivan, for the administration. This guy's Israeli. You wouldn't know it. Mr. Biden warned Mr. Netanyahu not to escalate in response to an Iranian attack and more immediately to a Gaza ceasefire. Message to Iran, you will pay no price for attacking Israel. That isn't advice Israel can afford to take. A senior official tells us Israel will take the win only after we have won and our war objectives are achieved. Otherwise, direct Iranian attacks will become one more thing Israel is expected to live with, so long as the U.S. helps intercept the missiles. This was Israel's mistake with Hamas and Hezbollah before October 7th. Folks, this is a civilized society. And I was there, my family, parts of my family and I were there when the missiles were being fired from Iran. Can you imagine? You live in and around one of these areas, whether it's Northern Virginia or outside or in L.A. and New York, wherever it is. And people keep shooting missiles at you? From the northern border and the southern border? What the hell do you think we do about this? Seek a ceasefire? Missing from all the White House statements, as Richard Goldberg of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies points out, and he will be with us Sunday. Please don't miss these programs, Saturday and Sunday. Please don't miss them. They're crucially important. As he points out, is what Iran should have to fear if it again fires hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones at Israel. He should fear us, the United States and Israel. He provides some options. An end to sanctions relief, including on oil and the $10 billion waiver, snapback UN sanctions, return the Houthis to the foreign terrorist list, support for an Israeli counterattack against the Revolutionary Guard facilities in Iran, or even nuclear sites and key infrastructure. Mr. Biden could choose one or several. Instead, he threatens Israel. He threatens Israel over what it cannot do. Meanwhile, today, Iranian state TV warned that in the hours, the world will witness extraordinary scenes and very important developments. Mr. Biden is losing control of events as Israel does what it must and Iran does what it lets it get away with. Yep. Sorry, my mouth broke there temporarily. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
We're here with one of our dear friends, Mr. Conservative of the United States Senate, Ted Cruz. Senator, how are you, sir?
Mark, I'm doing terrific. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, but I wanted to ask you a couple of questions here. Do you think Kamala Harris is going to get away with running a Joe Biden rope-a-dope campaign with the media telling us what she thinks, with the media covering up for her flip-flops, with the media lying on her behalf? Do you think she's going to get away with denying the American people access to her brain?
I think that is exactly what they're trying. It is the Joe Biden basement strategy. Look, they've spent 4 years with Biden locked in a basement, unable to tie his shoes. And from their view, it worked successfully in 2020. They're going to try it again with Kamala. It's been now over a week since she's been the presumptive nominee. She does no interviews. She gives no real speeches. What does she do? She reads from teleprompters. They're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in TV ads, and they're counting on the corporate media to do a multi-billion-dollar PR campaign. And I got to tell you, as cynical as that is, it is dangerous as hell.
I thought we lived in a democracy. The least democratic process that I've ever seen, that I think this country's ever experienced in the nomination of a presidential candidate has taken place. The brooming of 14.5 million voters in the Democrat Party, the installing of her. They've already had virtual voting. She's already their nominee before they even get to the convention. There's no open convention. There's no debate. There's no challengers. For somebody who, 4 weeks ago was thought to be a dunderhead and incompetent who would drag down the party, now she's a superhero. And by acclamation, if you will, or by coronation, she's their nominee. They can't get away with this without a lying, corrupt media. Isn't that correct?
It's absolutely correct, but we have a lying, corrupt media. They are completely on the team, that they are driving the parade forward. And listen, that is everything the Democrats say, everything the media says, sadly, is a Freudian projection, and they're doing the opposite. We've spent 5 years with these knuckleheads crowing about how they are defending democracy. And yet, when suddenly they realize, the person that our voters voted for is going to lose in November, what do? Throw him out unceremoniously and install someone who not a single Democrat primary voter voted for to be president. 0 votes. But democracy doesn't matter for them. What matters is power. And by the way, Mark, they would have left Joe Biden in there. They were perfectly happy to leave him as commander-in-chief. They don't care if the president is senile and unable to defend this country. The only reason they lost faith in him is because the voters saw that debate and they realized we're going to lose. And then it was like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas showing up at the bar, looking around, going, "Oh, no, man," and realizing he wasn't going to be a made man, but they were putting 2 rounds at him.
Ted Cruz, they're trying the same rope-a-dope, as you point out, with Kamala Harris. She has a horrendous record of incompetence. She has a horrendous policy agenda that is radical. It's even outside the Bernie Sanders mainstream. She has said things that are preposterous, that are thoroughly stupid, and now she's reversing course on a number of these views, but not speaking about them. She has some paid campaign guy put out a statement, she supports fracking now. And so this is what it's going to be. You point out hundreds of millions of dollars in paid ads, billions of dollars in in-kind free media contribution, attack Trump, rely on one debate. Isn't this really an attack on the American people? They are preventing the American people from casting a knowledgeable, informed vote about her.
So, of course it is, and it is fundamentally dishonest. Nobody in the media cares. Nobody in the media wants to ask her a single difficult question. You're right that they are trying to gaslight every voter. So they claim, first of all, she was not the border czar. For 4 years, she's been the border czar, but suddenly we have chaos at the southern border, and suddenly they pretend that doesn't exist. So Kamala Harris is not the border czar. My opponent in Texas, Colin Allred, is running away from border czar Kamala Harris like he's terrified. On top of that, as you note, she's campaigned for years on ending fracking. Suddenly she doesn't want to end fracking anymore. It just magically disappeared, and the media, like servile sheep, just bleat. And I don't know if you saw the news that just broke a few minutes ago. So yesterday, they announced that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, they were taking the death penalty off the table for him and reaching a plea agreement with the mastermind of 9/11. Just a few minutes ago, they broke the news that the Defense Department revoked that plea agreement because the pushback was so severe as firefighters and cops and patriots and everyone who was horrified pushed back. They reversed course instantaneously.
All right, hold on one second, Senator. They've been putting out the line, including Kamala Harris and Biden and their spokesman, idiots. We don't have the power to stop this. The President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States always had the power to stop this, didn't they? Yep. They just got caught again.
They did, and understand they did it because Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the apparatchiks said, we must close Guantanamo. It was a political mandate. just like the political mandate to pull out of Afghanistan by the anniversary of 9/11, and it trumped everything else. It led to the disaster in Afghanistan. Here, they're so close to an election, they just decided to run away. But to be clear, Kamala wants to do this just after Election Day.
You're right. We're going to carry the senator over the break. We want you to know about his race and how you can help him and more. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Welcome back, America. Senator Ted Cruz, you and 47 other Republican senators, all but Rand Paul, signed a letter to this president demanding that he stop slow-walking or blocking altogether critical weapon systems to the state of Israel. And there they are, surrounded by the terrorists. There Iran is threatening to unleash hell. So is Hezbollah. I feel like this little Israel is really by itself. Congress, Republicans, are trying to get it the support it needs. The Biden administration keeps attacking Bibi Netanyahu publicly, doesn't say a damn thing about the leader of Iran and so forth and so on. What do you make of this insanity?
Well, sadly, this is the most anti-Israel administration we have ever seen. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have undermined Israel from day one, from the moment they were sworn in. At every step, they have sought to delegitimize and undermine Israel. And at the same time, they have flooded cash to Israel's enemies. I'll tell you something that I've said before, but it is deeply disturbing. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the greatest friends the Ayatollah Khamenei has ever had, and they are the greatest friends Hamas and Hezbollah have ever had. Now, that's a shocking statement, but you can back it up when you understand, as you know very well, Mark, that they have flowed over $100 billion to the Ayatollah, and the Ayatollah, in turn, provides over 90% of the funding to Hamas and over 90% of the funding to Hezbollah. In a very, very real sense, the death squads on October 7th were paid for by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris with the active acquiescence of every congressional Democrat who looked the other way and refused to stand up for Israel, and that includes Chuck Schumer in the Senate, and it includes my Democrat opponent who's running against me, Colin Allred, who's been a rubber stamp for every anti-Israel policy from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
And even today, they talk about these defensive weapons they're going to give Israel. It seems to me if Iran or its surrogates hit Tel Aviv, then Israel needs to hit Tehran. I mean, Iran has gone pretty much unscathed from all the horror, the brutality, the genocide, and all the rest that it's created. And this administration, this regime, doesn't turn the screws on Iran, as you point out. They're funding Iran. And then Israel, as the Wall Street Journal editorial points out, Israel cannot do what Joe Biden is demanding it to do, or it will destroy itself.
No, that's exactly right. From the beginning, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been trying to get Israel to stand down and not attack. Literally on October 7th, while the death squads were still murdering innocent civilians, raping women and children, the Biden-Harris State Department tweeted out on October 7th, Israel must not retaliate. There must be no military response. I called that out at 3 a.m, and within minutes they deleted it because it was indefensible. The next day, October 8th, Tony Blinken, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the Secretary of State, tweeted out again the same damn thing. He said, I just talked with the Turkish foreign minister. We agreed Israel must not retaliate. There must be no military response. Again, I called it out. Again, they deleted it within minutes. And every day since then, what have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris been saying to Israel? Stop killing terrorists. Well, you know what? I say the opposite. Keep killing terrorists until you have utterly destroyed Hamas. And I got to say, this last week was a very bad week to be an anti-Israel, anti-American terrorist, and a very good week if you want to see freedom-loving people prevail as Israel took out some of the leading terrorists on the face of the planet.
Including one that was responsible for the death of 241 Marines. Shouldn't Netanyahu get the Medal of Freedom Award? By the way, Senator Cruz, to your point on the reversal on this plea deal for the 9/11 terrorists, it says here in the New York Post, the Defense Secretary Austin revoked the plea deals that would have spared the death penalty for the accused mastermind of 9/11 and 2 alleged accomplices. In a memo, he announced that he relieved the official responsible for signing off on the plea agreements from authority and that he assumed control of the convening authority for military commissions. Senator Cruz, for the last 24 hours, the vice president, the president, and their spokespeople, Kirby and the others, have said they had no power as president of the United States, as vice president of the United States, to stop this deal, when they always had power. Do they ever stop lying to the American people in this administration, ever?
Sadly, they do not. As you know, every week I do a podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz. I do it 3 days a week. Today's podcast is entirely on this topic. It is lighting them up for giving a sweetheart deal to the mastermind of 9/11. In the podcast, I play Karine Jean-Pierre saying, we had nothing to do with it. We had no power. I played Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor, saying, no, we had nothing to do with it. And I lay out, this is a lie. The reason this happened is because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris demanded that Guantanamo be shut down before the end of his presidency. And it's that political mandate that caused it to happen. And look at what they did. They spent a day getting pounded, quite rightly, as people were outraged. And then at 8 p.m. on a Friday, taking out the trash, they very quietly try to make it go away. And you know what? The media is going to ignore it. I promise you this is not going to lead the ABC News tomorrow. It's just simply going to disappear. These facts are no longer operative. These are not the droids you're looking for.
100%. Now, Senator Cruz, you have a hell of a race in Texas, and we on the Mark Levin show, the Levinites out here, we do not want you to lose. We want you to win, and we want you to win comfortably. So tell us a little bit about the race, and tell us how we can help you all across the country here.
Well, Chuck Schumer has been explicit. I am his number one target in the entire country. They are flooding cash at me. My opponent, Colin Allred, is a left-wing Democrat. His first 4 years in the House, he voted 100% with Nancy Pelosi. He has been a rubber stamp for border czar Kamala Harris's open borders. He has undermined law enforcement. He has undermined police officers. And he has been a left-wing vote, and yet he's the top Democrat fundraiser challenger in the country because he's coming after me. Every radical leftist in New York, in Chicago, and San Francisco, they go online and they give to my opponent. And I got to tell you, the last public poll in this race, Mark, showed it as a 3-point race. The poll before that showed it as a 4-point race. That's why Schumer's putting millions into it. It's why George Soros is coming after me and putting millions into it. And the way we're fighting back is patriots across Texas and all across the country. They've been going to our website, tedcruz.org, making contributions, giving $25, $50, $100, some more than that. And it is the patriots standing up saying, listen, we've got to have people in the Senate who've got backbone, who are willing to fight, who will defend the Constitution, who are not afraid of the radicals and the Marxists trying to take this country out. That's why they're coming after me, is they don't want someone leading the fight. And so your listeners who love America and love the Constitution, they're going to tedcruz.org, going right now to tedcruz.org and making a contribution. It has an enormous impact. And listen, if you can give $5 or $10, that's fantastic. Maybe you can give 100, but maybe there's one person out there who can give 1,000 or 2,000 or even 5,000. That's how we fight back against Schumer. That's how we fight back against Soros. That's how we pull our country back from the ring.
Every time Ted Cruz is on, ladies and gentlemen, we want to give him all the help we can. So I encourage you to go to tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. Give if you can, please. Help him out. We really need to keep this seat. It's very, very important. I can't believe we would wake up on Election Day and we'd have another left-wing Democrat in place of our dear friend Ted Cruz representing the state of Texas. Well, you know what? We have to fight these people. And he's being outspent like 8-1, 5-1. So anything you can do is very important. TedCruz.org. We'll keep it up on all our social sites. And Ted, God bless you, my friend, and keep up the good fight. You're doing terrific.
God bless you, Mark.
Be well. He's also the salt of the earth. He's a really, really good guy. And he really loves the country. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
tell our good friend Karl Rove, good guy, I want to tell him, hang in there, Karl. Just hang in there. It's early yet. Remember when George H.W. Bush, who you were working with, was 17 points behind Dukakis at about this time? Just hang in there. Yes, Kamala may get a solid lead. We know what's going on. We patriots. We know who's doing what. And so my advice, and I'll use my microphone, not a whiteboard, stay steady, folks. Don't get dispirited. This is what battle's all about. Political battles, military battles, sporting events. It's not over till it's over. Ask any athlete. Ask anybody who served in the military. Ask any politician. Don't freak out. That's their goal. That's their goal. And don't be dispirited. Take your energy and focus it on, what can I do this weekend to help get President Trump or my candidate for the Senate or House? What can I do to help them get elected? Let me contact the campaign. Or what can I do on my own as a patriot? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, the early patriots, they didn't have political parties. They weren't waiting for people to tell them what to do. Remember the Tea Party movement? Remember the Reagan Revolution? Remember the Trump Revolution? These were spontaneous. Everybody talks about bottom up, middle out. Of course, the Democrats are top down, iron fist. We're the bottom up, middle out. You've got a phone, use it. You've got email, use it. You have neighbors, talk to them. You have family, talk to them. Find out when early voting is in your area and vote. And vote early. And that way you have time to help other people vote. We know what we're up against. We know what they're doing. I don't live or die by these polls, as you well know. We look at them from time to time, but I don't spew them out like they're the Bible. We just need to keep what's between our ears straight. Stay focused. Like a strong baseball team or basketball team or football team. Like a strong military operation. Just keep strong, focused, laser focused. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget Life, Liberty, and Levin. Tomorrow night, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, your time, whatever time zone you're in. Go ahead and set your DVR. Watch it live. It's going to be worth your while. I make sure that it is. Same with Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Fantastic guests. Important opening statements. We go to America every Friday in honor of you. Here we go. Set your DVR, 8 p.m. tomorrow night Eastern, 8 p.m. Sunday night Eastern, anytime in your time zone. Life, Liberty, and Levin. Don't miss it. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine and Israel. We have your back. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi. Good night, Smokey and Zelda. Good night, Indy and Patton and Rory. Good night, Gigi. Good night, Marty. Good night, Barney. And good night, Dad and Mom. Miss you deeply. Good night, Leo. Good night, Joe. Good night, Bernie. Good night, Teddy. Good night, Lou. America, good night. God bless. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you tomorrow night on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Set that DVR. Take care of yourselves. Be well.